Hi, Vintage Stereo Buff here. Today I have a U.S.AMPS US-50 power amp. I just recently bought. Nice. It's not as big as I thought it would be, a lot bigger in size, but it's a small amp and I don't really have the specs on it. It's nice color. And it says on this end, high voltage stereo amplifier, 150 watts RMS, made in Florida, USA. There's not a lot on it. Simple gain control that does both channels, and a right and left input on this side. And over here, we have our old style little pigtail kind of wires, what I call them, pigtails, and a peak indicator and an over voltage indicator. And I'll turn it over and we'll look at the inside. I took the end plate off of it so I could look inside. Pretty neat little board. Kind of a different way of mounting the transistors to the heatsink than I've seen before. Got a little bar clamp on each side that clamps all four of them down. There's two output transistors here and two on this side. And over here we got our power supply transistors and rectifiers. And pretty neat little board, laid out nice, and all the components look like they're mounted really well. And so I'm not sure, I can't seem to find any information about the power output on these, but it says the maximum is 150 watts bridged. So I'm assuming that that is into 150 watts into 2 ohms. And I think the 50 watts means 2 times 25 watts. I think it's 2 times 25 watts at 4 ohms, 2 times 37.5 at 2 ohms, and 1 times 75 watts at 4 ohms, and 1 times 150 at 2. I think that's what the ratings are. I'm not sure, but I'm going to run a little dyno test here next, and we'll find out. Oh, also on this bottom plate, as you can see, the serial number is handwritten in here, as is the color, red. And also you notice here it says 1 ohm stable design. So obviously the amp is, that's 1 ohm in stereo mode. So that 1 ohm in stereo mode would be 2 ohms bridged. So that would give me the 150 times 2. So I'm pretty sure that's right, but we're going to run a dyno test next and check it out. I'll get back to you in a minute when I get things set up. Okay, I have my amp hooked up, the meter's hooked up, ready to run a dyno test. Amp is switched on. Got my voltage up to about 14.7. I'm going to get my screwdriver here where I can adjust my gain. And we'll run it up to clipping. But first we'll run to 1% distortion and then to clipping. $70 watts RMS at 3.8 ohms. And clipping it'll be about, well, I think it was 78. It says here 88 at 3.9. So 88 watts at 3.9 ohms at clipping. That's pretty good. That's what's 14.7 volts input. That's plenty of input. Okay, now let's clear that out. We'll do the dynamic mode. Switch discs. My CD player does some strange things sometimes. Okay, now I think I got it going right. Okay, now we'll do the dynamic burst test. Voltage is up. We might have too much by now. Okay. We'll reset that. And run it again. (109 watts at 3.8 ohms, dynamic power. We'll come to about 103 watts RMS into 4 ohms at dynamic power. Or about 207 watts dynamic power into 2 ohms. Okay. So the amp was what, about 77 watts RMS into about 4 ohms on one test, and the other showed 88, but I think that was at the clipping level, uncertified. I think that it was more like 77 watts RMS with the 1% distortion. But anyway, the test results show that the amp's performing just about like what this says. 1 times 75 watts at 4. So if anybody else knows what the specs actually are, I've never been able to find them, but I think that's about right. Anyway, that's a pretty powerful amp for such a small one. And anyway, Vintage Stereo Buff out.